Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Nirmal Bang, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Nirmal Bhatia. We have with us Mr. Rajesh Bhatia, Global CFO at Uflex, joining in. Welcome to the show, Mr. Bhatia, and it's as always a pleasure to speak to you as well. Overall, Mr. Bhatia, firstly, if you could just help us understand what's the overall outlook been with regards to where COVID goes, how businesses have grown, because yours has been an industry which has been consumer oriented, which has seen good gains.
I think pandemic, as we'd expected, that that this has only helped us to grow our business. And prior to pandemic, we had planned about a capacity which was about 150,000 tons, very substantial. And a part of it came, commissioning happened during the pandemic. And the demand was so strong that, I'm happy to say that, almost except Nigeria, all of them are running at today 90% plus within the first year itself. Nigeria, yes, because this was the first ever facility there in Nigeria, and the territory was new, and there are certain challenges which are not related to business, like the supply chain. So it's taking us a bit of a time, but except that, I think this capacity came at just the right time when the demand was galloping. And so obviously we were immediate beneficiary of this enhanced capacity that came our way. And that's where, if you see H1, the volume growth is about 40% this year. And last year also we had a very healthy volume growth, more than 20%. This year H1 is 40%. So, the things look very great from a demand perspective. I know that, as we go forward, there'll be more capacities which will come on stream because, in any upside of the business, people do plan investments, and the money being the easiest thing available today across the world. So there'll be capacities which will come up in the next couple of years, and then, but given our approach that we are close to the customer, and that's what has been our business philosophy. It's only helping because the supply chain and the logistics and the freight is the biggest issue there. We're seeing that the freight rates have gone at least 5x to 10x between the various jurisdictions. And which also means that if you're closer to the customer, you have the opportunity to increase your prices, because somebody who is exporting from a low-cost jurisdiction to Europe or America, which are the largest markets, he's obviously paying a much higher freight than he was paying pre-pandemic. And there was an opportunity to increase your prices, because the alternate landed prices of imports were becoming higher, and that all helped us during this pandemic. So the business looks great as we see today, but I'm saying that because end of the day, it's a business which is more of a commodity link play, and so the capacities will catch up, and then one will have to see as to how do we stand out amongst the competition, which we will because we closer to the customer, and there are huge advantages today being close to the customer.
Right. So overall, with all of this right now, that the backgrounder that you've given us as well right now, overall, what's the kind of expansion that we are looking at?
So we've completed expansions, greenfield expansion in Russia. We've completed in Nigeria. We've completed in Hungary. And we've completed brownfield expansions in Poland as well as in Egypt. So all this is already completed. Currently, there are two expansions which are underway. One is a small CPP facility in UAE plant, where we actually had the land available after we shifted one of our PET facility to Russia. And so the infrastructure was already there. We just needed to invest in a line to do there. We saw demand for this particular category of the film, and that's where we are setting up a new facility there. This will do us about 1,500 tons a month, so not a very big capacity again. In India, after a hiatus of about 16 years, now we are expanding our packaging film capacity. We setting up a PET plant in southern part of India. It is Karnataka, and we are setting up a CPP facility also there. Total about, you can say about 6,000 tons a month will additional come from these two capacities, and 1,500 tons from Dubai capacity. So that's on the packaging film side. So the total capacity that's currently underway is close to about 7,500 tons is what we are setting up. Then we are doubling our capacity for the aseptic packaging, which is currently at 3.5 billion packs a year, and we're doubling that to 7 billion. That we didn't need much of the capex, because the first plant we had set up excess infrastructure, because we knew that at some point in time we'll have to. So we just adding one printing line over there, and that will actually double our capacity for that business. Other than these two, I think there's nothing major which is on annual. We'll wait for a while as to how the things shape up in the next year or so before we draw anything else. But yes, we continuously keep on exploring opportunities where we can in terms of growing our business, because that's all we do. We have no other you can say no other business other than the packaging. We just do this.
Right. And overall, with regards to where your foray into Nigeria goes, you have been creating production capacities as well through expansion. And you've become, I think, the second biggest producer of thin BOPET films there as well. So what's the plan?
So Nigeria, let me tell you that before we entered, there is no manufacturing facility for PET over there. Currently, they have just a packaging facility for DOPP over there, but no PET. The entire PET was being imported into Nigeria, and this is a substantial market. So given that there is so much of competition, you have to identify the areas where there is a potential to set up a facility. Yes, that when you identify those territories, it will take time before one full plant can be absorbed locally. So in the mean, let's say if you're setting up a plant which can do about 4,500 tons a month, and you have 60% local demand, so 40%, given our global reach across various territories, across our plants, we can always sort of look to sell that in other territories. And Nigeria, again, as I said, we identified early, because again, in our business, what you have to look for is that if it is huge population in that country, so the flexible packaging, if it is at its sort of consumption is less today, I think with the growing incomes and with the growing economies, there's no way that the packaging consumption can lag behind, and the growth rates will also be higher there as compared to mature markets over there. So that was the whole vision behind entering into new areas like Nigeria and Russia. Russia also We were selling. In fact, our Dubai facility, which we shifted from Dubai to Russia, was catering just to the Russian markets only. Russia as well as the erstwhile USSR. So we were incurring freight from for taking that from Dubai to Russia. Then we were incurring import duties, the port charges. So all these costs we said that, if the market is there, so it's better to be closer to the market. That's what we did. And that plant was sold out right from the day one because we already had customers over there.
Right. So overall, if you have to see from an industry perspective as well, what is the kind of growth that you're seeing in the flexible packaging industry? What are the trends indicating?
I think the flexible packaging industry, if you ask me, the growth rate is differing from a territory to territory. While when we say that the growth rate in Americas or Europe could be 3.5%, but then again, we have to understand that they're the biggest markets of the world. 3% growth rate over there would require a much more capacity addition as compared to India, which is only an iota of market which is there in Americas or Europe. So India would be having about just about between 8 to 10% kind of a growth rate. Nigeria would also have that kind of a growth rate, but again on a smaller base. US and Europe would have 3.5% kind of a growth rate, but the base itself is so large, and that gives you opportunity to continue to keep on expanding your capacities over there. The flexible packaging also is gaining more momentum because it's also in a way substituting the rigid packaging in a way, and it's much cheaper as compared to rigid packaging. Earlier our hand soaps and our shampoos would only come in a rigid plastic bottles or the glass bottles, but today you find the flexible packs which can stand up pouches, which are there. So I think as the industry innovates more, because the weight to the contents, the packaging weight is much less as compared to the rigid packaging weight, and the contents still remain intact, and they are as good as in a flexible packaging as they are in a rigid packaging. So as more and more innovation is happening, it will more and more substitute the rigid packaging. Not that rigid packaging will go off, they'll remain in certain categories, but wherever there could be a replacement, the flexibles will patch in.
Right. And then overall, if you go to see in terms of countries as well, which will be of dominance in the flexible packaging industry if you have to look at the next 5 years? And how well placed are we in those countries?
I think I see India making very rapid progress in the flexible packaging in the next 5 years, given our growth momentum, what we are seeing in our country. Europe and America, again, with a lot of free cash being distributed or a lot of wealth being distributed, they will also see accelerated consumption. We're seeing Americas for the first time, I don't know, in my living memory, when did I see 6.8% inflation rate in America? And if that is happening, that's mean that, the extra money in the hands of people is leading to a higher consumption. And obviously, we also share a pie for that extra consumption that is happening today. So I think India per se, and of course, Europe and Americas would always continue to lead the world markets in terms of the growth for the flexible packaging. And we there in all three markets. We have substantial presence in Europe. We have two plants. We have Hungary. We have Poland. Then America, we are catering from Mexico as well as a plant in America, and India, of course, is our base. So in all these three markets, we continue to be
right. And overall, a lot of debate that's going around right now with regards to where packaging waste pollution goes. What's your view, and how is UFlex tackling it?
I think we just hoping that the pandemic is over, and we will really hit big with that opportunity coming our way. And I had said earlier also that if a very handful of people in the globally have solutions to tackling these so-called plastic waste issues, pollution issues, and all that, we may be ranking highest in terms of that. So we just waiting that the governments, when they shift focus to some of the other things which got lost in the pandemic in the way, I think that's a huge opportunity for us. Look, we've not done enough as a society in terms of handling this waste earlier, but it's not an insurmountable problem. It is surmountable. And the early entrants will have a huge upside here. We already have facilities set up in our Noida plant where we process all these wastes. Where we are setting up a plant in Mexico, in Poland, where we are again going to process these wastes. So these are going to be our showcase to the governments and to the world, to our customers as well, that we have these technologies and infrastructure ready just in case there are more tougher legislations around handling the plastic waste. So we just waiting for that opportunity to come. It's got delayed by a couple of years because of the pandemic. Focus is elsewhere in the government. But any right legislations will enable us to make a quantum leap in that direction, and be ready for it.
Right. So overall, what is the growth outlook looking like for UFlex, and what are the next milestones that we're looking to cross?
So I said about a year back that we would look to grow at least 20 to 25% in the revenues for the next 3 years, driven by these capacities that we set up. As I said, I'm happy to share that H1 we've surpassed that number, so we grew by about 40%, which means that at some point in time you will again hit the capacity constraint because your plants can only produce a certain capacity. What is that set up for? So I think, but we are a very a progressive company. We'll keep on scouting for opportunities where even after the current round of expansion, which are the markets where we can increase our throughputs, and we'll continue to work on that. So the idea is that on a year-on-year basis, if we can look at about 15 to 20% kind of a top line growth, I think that will be our sort of motto to achieve.
All right, Mr. Bhatia, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Always a pleasure to understand insights and industry views as well. Thank you. Stay safe and speak to you soon again.
Thank you. Bye.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel for in-depth interviews of India Inc. and press the bell icon so that you do not miss our updates.